So we're doing that now. A little late to the game, but you know what? Better late than never.
That sounds like the sort of excuse a cop would say about his body cam.
Thankfully, no one has been, doing anything that would not be wanting to be shown on our cameras here in the studio. Although we don't know what Vincent is drinking out of that cup over there.
Oh, it's a dessert. It's a milkshake.
Right. Yes, clearly. So you can join us here. Again, toll-free number is 855-450 for Ian, Vincent, and Mike in the studio tonight. We're talking about some of the latest news from Venezuela, a situation that has been developing over the last couple of weeks. We talked about it quite a bit last week. Not as much, I don't think, this week, where protests were, hitting the streets over this conflict between two sides that are, by the way, both socialists that want to be in control of the Venezuelan government. You've got the known bad guy, Nicolas Maduro, who has been presiding over the country's fall down the toilet of socialism, spiraling down as the currency is inflated to ridiculous levels. Hyperinflation is pretty insane over there. We had a guy call from Venezuela, or he lives in Venezuela, but he was calling from Miami. There was the Miami Bitcoin conference recently, and Mark met him there, said, oh, you got to call into Free Talk Live. And he says, when you go into a bar in Venezuela and you order the first drink, the price has gone up by the time you order your second drink. So, you're better off ordering all your drinks at, when you get there, paying for them right then, rather than waiting until, you've finished a few rounds.
Well, you could say the same thing about the dropping price of Bitcoin as well.
Has it been dropping today?
It seems to be going down week to week here
generally.
Now.
You're just talking about
generally.
I mean,
let's be careful with our words. It's not been dropping. It's not had been dropping. It's been dropping continuously ever since 20,000.
Yeah, and that was just over a year ago, basically. It was last 2017, December 2017.
Which has it on course for being at the bottom of its usual 2-year cycle that between peaks. So
you think it's due for a comeback at some point soon?
I think it's going to be heading towards a comeback, later this year.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you're right. I mean, obviously, we all want to see Bitcoin succeed. And not stumble, and it's still higher than it was, as of August of 2017.
Right.
I mean, most of the history of Bitcoin, it's still at a very high price. So we can talk more about Bitcoin too. I got Bitcoin-related news. We got all kinds of stuff that we can cover here tonight. But starting with Venezuela, because, like I said, we've been following the stories out of Venezuela off and on over the last probably decade here on Free Talk Live, and it's gotten particularly bad in the last several years. And now you've got the president of Venezuela, the self-proclaimed at this point president of Venezuela, who has the Supreme Court backing him, Maduro, that is conflicting with this other guy, Juan Guaido, who is saying he's the president of Venezuela. Well, now Maduro's Supreme Court has banned Guaido from leaving the country. They've also opened a criminal investigation into his so-called anti-government activities. Now, let's be clear. Guaido is not anti-government. He's very much for the government, just not the current government.
He's just saying they're doing socialism wrong.
Basically, which is what all the socialists say. Every time socialism fails, there's always socialists who are like, well, they just did it wrong. You got to do it my way.
One more execution away from utopia.
One more nationalization. We just need to nationalize that other country or company over there. And they've nationalized a lot of them in Venezuela and run them straight into the ground. So that's part of where their problems come from, is that the government took over what were productive industries.
Yeah, they nationalized the oil industry, and
that was a long time ago.
And at that point, they were producing 3 million barrels a day of oil, and today they're producing just over 1 million.
Wow!
And with at the time they were the price of oil was in the 80s to 90s dollars per barrel. Now it's around bouncing between $45 and $55 a barrel. And so Venezuela's been losing its shirt, not just by the dropping price of oil, but also the fact that they can't seem to produce enough oil to export.
William Saab, or Tarek William Saab, is the chief prosecutor there at the government's court. They have approved his request that all of Guaido's financial assets also be frozen. So he can't leave the country. His financial assets have been frozen, and he's under criminal investigation. this doesn't sound like it's going to lead to many good things for Juan Guaido, but he must have known this in advance, right? Like when he was chosen by the opposition party, and I forget what their name was. I know you looked it up at one time.
He's a social democrat.
Basically, yeah.
He's a Bernie bro.
When he was chosen by them to be their presidential pick.
Well, either chosen by them or selected by the U.S. State Department or CIA. I mean, there's been some meddling around there. I have another article about that, how the diplomat who's been appointed for the special envoy to Venezuela was convicted over the Iran-Contra affair.
Oh, okay. Now, this is the diplomat from the U.S.?
Yeah, I just have it here. I'll just read the little blurb from the London Guardian. Elliot Abrams, who is linked to a failed coup against Chavez, to join Pompeo to urge Security Council to recognize Guaido as head. And this was published on Saturday the 26th. So, I mean, and just how fast it took for Trump to back Guaido and everything. I mean, for me, at least, it seems fishy. It just seems. And then you had, I don't know if anyone's seen the John Bolton, who's the National Security Advisor. Someone took a picture of his notepad at a conference, and on the notepad, it said 5,000 troops to Colombia.
Ooh.
So, yeah, that was an interest. They quickly backpedaled and said that hasn't even been considered. And we don't know whether Bolton just wrote that on the pad and was showing the pad just to as a troll,
just to troll people,
or as like a psych warfare thing to get people used to the idea first, and then they'll sort of like test the waters.
Yeah. So it's interesting, though. But I mean, the Guaido, whether he's CIA backed or whatever the story is, I would say there's a good chance that the CIA is
There's a number of different exile groups all over the Caribbean. I've been in touch with some who are libertarian oriented, who are in Panama, who are trying to get some sort of a uprising going on one of the islands offshore of Venezuela.
Really?
And but they found that it's been extremely difficult for the opposition to get organized because the Maduro government always sends infiltrators in posing as members. They find out who's running it, and then they rat them all out and
they break up the group.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. That does sound familiar. This is pretty standard political
the thought police
infiltration tactics. Now, of course, you never really know whether the infiltrator is somebody who had honest intentions, or I guess an infiltrator doesn't have honest intentions, but what I mean is the person who's a suspected infiltrator.
They started out honest, and then they got picked up, or family got threatened, they got
bribed.
That can
happen too.
Or they're just like O'Brien in 1984. They're just always, that's their whole job is to be a honeypot.
And you know that Guaido, whatever his story is, he's definitely brave to be at the front of this, because he must know he's going to be the sacrificial lamb. Like,
well, you could be brave if you
knows he's going to get targeted.
Yeah. If you have a U.S. military behind you.
Well, he doesn't, though. Not right now. It's Free Talk Live.
The United States of Empire is a book that claims the United States is the empire of the world. George Washington had warned us against foreign wars. The United States of Empire shows that World Wars I and II left England broken. Its former colony, the U.S., had to save the empire. Was there ever a vote? Who do we fight for? The deep state began with World War I. The United States of Empire by James Dunn. Available at Amazon Books.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
If you're Democrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. You can dial toll-free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Jump into one of those. You'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. And in the studio with you, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Mike.
We've been talking about Venezuela, the latest from down there. In fact, you've probably got a more recent story than I do, Vincent. I've got the one about Juan Guaido, the opposition leader, being targeted by, as expected. I mean, we kind of knew this was likely to happen. He must have known that it was highly likely that he would be targeted by Nicolas Maduro, the self-proclaimed second-term president. Guaido saying he's the president. So Maduro, of course, has now had his Supreme Court lock down Guaido's ability to travel, because apparently I guess the court can say, you got to stay here. And you know, these men with robes all around the world have special powers that just allow them to tell people what to do. So they're telling Guaido he's got to stay put, and further, they're locking down his bank accounts. Now, Freedom's Phoenix is a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. If you want the newest and freshest stories and perspectives on current events from those who value liberty, then freedomsphoenix.com has it. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. So head on over to freedoms, with an S, phoenix.com. That's freedomsphoenix.com. As we continue here talking about Juan Guaido, the opposition leader, who, by the way, is also a socialist. So if he ends up taking control over the presidency in the country, how much will it really change? Well, I don't know. I mean, how is he one of those socialists who really doesn't believe in nationalizing industries? Because that's one of the biggest problems in Venezuela. Because there are certainly socialist countries where they still allow people to have independent, at least somewhat independent ownership of companies. Now, that's not technically socialism, but you know, you look at Norway, Sweden, countries like that, they're touted as socialist, but I don't know if they quite.
They're more along the lines of social welfare states.
Okay.
Because they're you can set all kinds of goalposts, but a socialist state would nationalize most industries. To varying degrees. The Scandinavian countries typically are still majority private sector industry. So,
and they tried to do some socialism there, as I understand it, and they kind of backed off.
They backed off quite a bit, and they still they heavily tax the private industry and people's incomes to fund the social welfare state. It drastically limits people's disposable income because the level of taxation can be rather high, well over 90% for the upper brackets,
which is crazy.
Yeah. I when I lived in Seattle, I had a friend who was kind of the Donald Trump of Sweden, Hans Thulin, and he had fled Sweden when the Swedish IRS gave him a tax bill that constituted 115% of his assets.
What?
So, they can be pretty punitive over there.
But yet, if you don't see nationalized industry, the country still can be relatively productive. I mean, even with all that progressive taxation, as oppressive as that is, they're still way better off in those countries than Venezuela, where they actually have nationalized hundreds and hundreds of businesses.
And when you have nationalized industries like that, you don't have any sort of competitive pressures to weed out deadwood. And this is where you wind up getting so much losses from corruption and that sort of thing, which is really the big thing that's killing Venezuela. For instance, Chavez's daughter was notorious for looting. She became a billionaire from all the looting that she did in the Venezuelan
looting the industries, you mean?
Yeah.
Or it reminds me of what Imelda de Marcos, the wife of a Philippine dictator. She had thousands of pairs of shoes.
That was interesting because people accused them of looting the country, but the Philippines didn't have any money at all, and the Marcos's money actually came from they had. Marcos had found a good chunk of Yamashita's gold from that had been cached.
So from Japan?
Well, there wasn't Japanese gold. It was gold that the Japanese forces had collected from British banks and American banks from around Southeast Asia. And they had been planning
spoils of war.
Well, the spoils of war, and they had been building a reserve bank. They had been planning on releasing a currency backed by these reserves for what they called the Southeast Asian co-prosperity sphere. And but it was classic centralized banking imperialism that was going on in that case. And so at the end of World War II, Marcos, who was one of the top resistance fighters in the Philippines, had discovered where Yamashita had stashed the gold when they were pulling out of the Philippines, and he used that was his basis of his personal wealth.
If you want to join us here, the toll-free number is 855-450 free. We can talk more about Venezuela on the way. We got Ron on the line in New York, listening via TuneIn. Go ahead, Ron.
Hi. So I've been looking at all the Democrats that are getting into the 2020 race, and I gotta say, most of them. Well, I gotta say, as much as I disagree with Tulsi Gabbard, and as much as I wouldn't support her because of her fiscal policies, she's probably the only one in the field who at least has some semblance about, or has some, how do I say this, has some intelligence about, foreign policy and foreign intervention.
I couldn't make out what you said.
He's talking about Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi
Gabbard.
Tulsi.
She's a congresswoman from Hawaii. She's a military veteran.
Oh God, she's probably awful. Hawaii's terrible.
She's a Democrat. She's actually she's met with Trump. She was a Bernie bro during the 2016 election.
Is he running again?
Probably not.
Probably will, actually.
I think probably. They said he's been visiting South Carolina, so that increases the likelihood that he's probably going to announce at some point soon that he's going to run again.
Gotcha.
But there's a lot of millennial support falling in behind Tulsi Gabbard. She's, because of her military experience, because of her, she was a legislator in Hawaii, and she, has worked her way up, both in the military and as a legislator. She started out enlisting as a regular enlisted soldier, and then worked her way up, and now she's a major in the Hawaii National Guard. So she's one of these kind of work her way up from the bottom type individuals rather than entitled.
And from what I've heard, I think she might also be able to get a lot of, I'd say, Democrat moderates behind her, because like she's perceived not as being as radical as, say, like AOC or Kamala Harris, or let's see here, like someone, I forget, it was someone from Michigan, I think, was calling for like 90%, something like 90% tax bracket also up there. So like sort of,
she does support Medicare for all, though, unfortunately.
Well, she's a leftist.
Well, maybe not unfortunately. Fortunately, so give people another reason not to vote for her.
But she is, in a lot of policy areas, she is pulling a pretty moderate position on things. And she's also anti-interventionist. So
that's my thing. Like, I would never support her, but I gotta say, I'm listening to all these different Democrats, and she's the only one who, at least, she's probably the smartest one out of all of them. I wouldn't.
Which means she probably won't have any chance whatsoever.
I would say she's the least moonbatty Democrat out there. So,
yeah. Well, there you go, Ron. There's Ron's election update for you. Thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate it, man. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can bring up anything that you want. You can take control of the airwaves here. Now, it's still pretty early for the 2020 election, but you're going to be hearing a lot more about it in the news as things heat up here this year. Because
the clown car is filling.
We're probably only a year away at this point, probably less than a year away from the New Hampshire primary. So, yeah, I like that. The clown car's filling up. We're coming up.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
A printer with more ink than you think.
The Epson EcoTank printer comes with up to 2 years of ink included, right in the box.
So you can print up to 2 years worth of reports and proposals. Just think about how much you'll save on ink.
And right now at Staples, save $150 on the Epson EcoTank 4750. Plus, when you trade in your old printer in store, you'll save an additional $50.
Staples, there's a whole lot in store.
Ends 2/2/19. See associate for details.
And now, a quick comparison from Grasshopper. When you're always on the go, what would you prefer? An office phone system?
Hey, it's Rochelle. Sorry I missed you earlier. Had an errand to run, but I'm back in the office, so give me a call when you get this.
Or one that works on your cell phone? No hardware needed, courtesy of Grasshopper.
Oh, 1 sec. It's a business call. Hi, this is Rochelle with Way Forward Partners. How can I help?
There's no contest. Put your best voice forward with Grasshopper, the virtual phone system for small business. Try it free at grasshopper.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial in toll-free, bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. It's 855-450-3733. We got updates that we're doing for you on Venezuela, what has been going on down there this week, at least the stories that we hear, because we don't actually know anything about it. We're in New Hampshire, so we have to trust what other people are saying about it. Luckily, there are a lot of different sources that are covering this. A lot of people there.
I'll speak to that. It's difficult because yesterday I was doing research on it because I was interested, and I typed it in just to Google, regular browser, and a lot of it it's just there's a pro Guaido bias, I'd say, from most of the MSM. Like I had to go to a one of these radical independent outlets just to find anything even remotely unbiased, like just telling the facts. All the other ones are just like praising Guaido. He's the good guy. He's there of a rebel alliance versus the evil empire.
Well, I mean, he may be better than Maduro. It's hard to imagine somebody worse than Maduro, but there are people worse than Maduro out there, so I don't know.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. You know?
Exactly.
I'm sure plenty of people said the Tsar was terrible, and this guy, Vladimir Lenin, he's going to bring some real change. He's going to help a lot of people here in Russia.
Toll-free number tonight if you want to join us, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. It's a crazy situation, and we're going to continue with it coming up here in moments. Let's see. First, though, we go to the phones to the fun. Sarah is in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Calling early tonight, Sarah. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, the replay is an hour later here. Usually it starts at 7, but it starts at 8, so I wanted to get on early.
Okay.
So, what I wanted to bring up is that did you know that, those regular routine traffic stops or the speeding ticket roundups?
Okay, sure.
They actually help.
They what? They help what?
They actually help prevent future burglaries and robberies.
How does a speeding ticket roundup prevent burglary? And when you say roundup, what do you mean? Do you mean them running like a speeding ticket operation where they've got a guy with a radar gun on the side of the road and then a bunch of cop cars down a nearby road, and then they like keep picking off people that are speeding? Is that what you're talking about? What do you mean by a speeding ticket roundup?
Well, there was a town, state of Texas is really big on this, a traffic violation stop. They get you for running red lights, they get you for speeding tickets, and then once they got you, they run you for warrant.
I see what you're saying.
Right, and then they get you for revoked license, suspended license, unpaid tickets. They jack you up for everything, and so they get.
That's the right words, jack you up.
Yeah,
they do. And so what you're saying is when they're giving people routine speeding tickets and such, they're running their ID, they're checking for warrants, and so therefore if there's somebody who's wanted for a thing, maybe an actual crime, they might actually arrest that person. That's what you're saying here.
Yeah, on their way to rob a house, burglarize a house.
Well, you don't know.
And then they,
Well,
you don't know what they were going to do.
Be on the way to rob a house, but if someone has outstanding warrants, odds are that they may be committing another crime at some time in the near future.
That's possible.
So if they get arrested for that outstanding warrant and put in jail, then they're not going to be in a place where they could commit those crimes they otherwise would have.
That's true. Although most of them are probably not telling the officers when they're pulled over, "Oh, officers, where are you going today, sir?" "I was just going to go rob a house. We're going to do a break and enter." I mean, they're probably not finding professional thieves' tools in the back trunks of most of these cars. But all that said, Sarah, what you're talking about here isn't uncommon. It's not something that's, I mean, it happens everywhere. Whenever the cops pull somebody over, they always run your license. They always do a warrant check on every single person that they pull over. So that's pretty
what
common.
I think she's talking about is having, multiple cops in one location and really, stopping people for, you see a dent, you see a cracked window, you see, pulling everybody that they possibly can over for any excuse and then running their license.
Thanks for the call tonight, Sarah. Appreciate it. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Now, of course, the only way to avoid that would be to not drive around, because once you are behind the wheel of a car, the cops can identify you. You have to legally have some form of driver's license on you, and you have to show it to the officer when you get pulled over. So if you want to, if you are a peaceful person and but you might have a warrant out for your arrest, because there's a lot of people who've got BS warrants that have been placed upon them, you might not want to be behind the wheel of a car. If you are a passenger in a car, and this isn't legal advice, it's just my understanding as somebody who studies these things. If you're a passenger in a car, you are not under any obligation to identify yourself to the police. They can ask you.
Sure, they can.
You don't have to answer. You don't have to say anything, although it isn't a bad idea to express that you will be remaining silent.
Although it kind of depends where in the country you are, because if you're within 100 miles of the border and they have a state cop or a border patrol guy located, they can check anybody in the car.
What?
That's if you're within 100 miles of the border, they can check anybody.
You're going to have to find me the citation on that one, Mike, because that's the first I've heard of that claim. That it would be shocking to me, because I can tell you we were within 100 miles of the border, and what we, meaning not either of you and me, but me and a group of other activists, Rich Paul included. Last summer, they had a checkpoint, an actual Border Patrol roving checkpoint located in Woodstock, New Hampshire, and they didn't try to check anything. They actually waved us through the checkpoint.
I'm sure they profiled you guys.
After they saw the cameras hanging out the windows.
You don't look they're very Mexican to them.
So, I mean, they can ask you what your citizenship is. Are you a U.S. citizen was the question that they asked, and I did not answer their question. And then the officer was ordered by his superior to let us go. And that's all on video. If you want to find it, just go to the Free Keene YouTube channel and search for Border Checkpoint or Border Patrol, and that'll come up. So when you don't have to get it right now, Mike, but I'm very curious to know where you heard that one.
Federal law says that without a warrant, CBP can board vehicles and vessels and search for people without immigration documentation within a reasonable distance from any external boundary to the United States.
But you don't have to identify. They can look around. So we recently covered a story where Greyhound, it was actually last month, Greyhound was making headlines for buying advertising. Not just buying advertising, but putting up big, like poster size, know your rights information in their Greyhound bus stops, and giving information to their riders on how to handle police encounters on Greyhound buses. Because for decades, Customs and Border Patrol have been boarding Greyhound buses, and they've been harassing people. And they can ask you, because again, they're just like another human being can ask you, what time is it? Or what do you think of the weather? Or whatever. A cop can ask you a question. But you're, as I understand it, under no obligation if you are a passenger on a bus or a passenger in a car or a truck or wherever. to show any ID to these people. So just because they can search for people who, aren't legally supposed to be there, doesn't mean that they get to force you to identify yourself to them, unless you're the person behind the wheel of the car.
But how do they know whether you're illegal if you haven't been identified?
Well, they wouldn't know. And that's the point. So, like the Pot Brothers at Law. I don't know if you've seen this YouTube channel.
That's a hilarious.
Have you seen these guys?
Yeah, they're great.
There's a couple guys doing. I don't know what the channel's called, but it's Pot Brothers at Law. If you search for that, you'll find they get these 1-minute tips of the day, and they have Shut the F Up Fridays, where they just have hilarious videos. We cannot possibly play it for you on the air, as you might have already guessed why, because they say "shut the F up" multiple times in the video to remind you of how important staying quiet is when it comes to police interactions. Like, if you don't want to have handcuffs put on you, shut the F up. Now, they did advise in one of their videos, and these guys are lawyers, so they can give legal advice, but they did advise that you might want to express to the police that you are using your right to remain silent. There was a pesky Supreme Court decision within the last few years that basically said that you have to verbalize your right to remain silent, which seems very counterintuitive to me. Like, if you have a right to remain silent, shouldn't just remaining silent express that right? Express that you're utilizing that right? According to the court, no.
And if you said you have exercise your right to remain silent, haven't you stopped being silent? So.
Well, correct. I guess the idea is you're letting them know you're exercising your right to remain silent beginning at that point. So, the toll-free number here tonight, 855-450-FREE, and will Juan Guaido down in Venezuela be remaining silent if he is arrested by the state police? Because that seems to be a potential next step after they've locked down his bank accounts, have initiated a criminal investigation against him, and told him he can't leave the country. We got more on the way. You can bring up what you want here. Hour 2's next. It's Free Talk Live.
#1 international best-selling author Matthew David Hurtado's pain was simple. Lyme disease bankrupted him in 2009, watching bankers take everything from his family after building a 7-figure business from his couch. God called him to ministry to teach prosperity based on pain he could not tolerate in others' lives. IRS, creditors, car loans, debt. It's the Babylonian system, and you have to escape it before it's too late. Haven't you ever wanted to wake up from this nightmare? Matthew David's free quick study guide shows you what to do today to build lasting wealth in any economy. His discovery he made? It's all consciousness. Get Matthew's 7-figure quick study guide for clarity, certainty, and a proven strategy to build wealth once and for all. Visit escaperightnow.com. Do it now. It's free. escaperightnow.com for a prosperous future ahead with peace of mind. escaperightnow.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Find us online at libertybeat.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your weekend edition of the Liberty Beat for the week ending February 1st, 2019. Gold opened Friday at $1,321. Silver opened at $15.97. And Bitcoin is trading around $3,442. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at InnoScale.net. In the news, Twitter has announced that it took down about 2,000 accounts in Venezuela, most of which it claimed were engaged in a state-backed influence campaign. That comes amid accusations of a U.S.-led coup attempt. The San Francisco-based social media giant released a blog post Thursday saying it removed 1,196 accounts located in Venezuela, which it deemed to appear to be engaged in a state-backed influence campaign targeting domestic audiences. Twitter also removed another 764 accounts and noted, quote, "We are unable to definitively tie the accounts located in Venezuela to information operations of a foreign government against another country," end quote. The Twitter purge of accounts was met with criticism and accusations of censorship. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has announced that the U.S. will withdraw from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty immediately, prompting threats of a Russian response from Moscow. Pompeo said the U.S. could return to compliance with the treaty if Moscow meets Washington's demands within the next 180 days. To convince the United States to back down, Washington has insisted that Russia cease development of a new cruise missile. Moscow has repeatedly denied claims that it's in violation of the treaty. The withdrawal will formally take place on Saturday. President Donald Trump said the United States' NATO allies support the decision to withdraw from the treaty. The U.S. has also expressed concerns that its compliance with the treaty has benefited China, which isn't a party to the agreement. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And Liberty Beat listeners right now can save 10% at checkout by using promo code SNLS. This is the weekend edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news. In a surprising vote Thursday, the United States Senate voted 68-23 to pass a resolution from Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, expressing opposition to President Trump's plan to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria, and expressing opposition to any theoretical pullout from Afghanistan that might result from a negotiated deal to end that war. The anti-media, citing antiwar.com, reports the non-binding resolution was passed with overwhelming support from the Republican majority, setting them squarely against parts of President Trump's foreign policy. A number of Democrats who voted against it expressed concern that it was tantamount to a vote advocating a state of permanent war. The 2001 authorization for the Afghan war was built around 9/11 and the defeat of al-Qaeda. Neither are hugely relevant issues in 2019 Afghanistan, and a peace treaty being negotiated centers heavily around the Taliban, promising to keep al-Qaeda and ISIS out of the country in the future. Congress never actually authorized the war in Syria at all, dodging that obligation repeatedly because of political concerns. President Obama invaded Syria unilaterally to fight ISIS, and President Trump has declared ISIS effectively defeated now that they virtually have no territory remaining. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. It's simple. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details on how to raise your business's profile in partnership with the Liberty Beat. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the weekend edition of the Liberty Beat for the week ending Friday, February 1st, 2019. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
The total loser's corpse contained no traces of drugs or alcohol, and a superstitious Delta Airlines adds busty mermaids to its plane noses. My friend, you look like you are in need of the world's finest internet news summaries. Please come in and warm yourself by the fire of knowledge. This is the Onion Week in Review. A new law passed in Colorado this week will allow residents with a doctor's prescription to purchase medicinal fireworks, saying that those in need of stargazers, firecrackers, and Galleria highlights now need only obtain a doctor's doctor's prescription, state officials expressed hope that the law would ease the suffering of those in need of huge, dazzling explosions. And in this week's op-ed pages, a man notes that, like it or not, we all die, then get dug up and molested. In other news, white male privilege is squandered on a job at Best Buy, and a local TCBY has missed the past 2 logo changes. Well, that's it for now. Goodbyes are bittersweet, my love, so I'll only tell you, for more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Just join those over at discord.lrn.fm. We've been talking about Venezuela here tonight. Also on the way, apparently there's a measles outbreak somewhere in the United States. Mike's got that story and other things, whatever it is you want to bring to the table. You can take control of the airwaves. It's Ian, Vincent, and Mike here as we launch into the second hour. Let's go to the phones and to Discord, where Bad Slave is on the line in New Hampshire. Go ahead, Bad Slave.
Hi, Ian, Mike, and Vincent. Good to speak with you. I wanted to just kind of chime in, countering our good friend Sarah. The fact is that the bulk of detainments that show, warrants are going to be victimless crimes. There's just the bulk of activity in the areas of enforcement is victimless crimes. Mm-hmm. If you're happy that you found some poor slob who forgot to pay a ticket or or even was caught with some contraband, right, or whatever else, or not sporting a piece of plastic driver's license, then you're wasting the taxpayers' money, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, there is no good reason to pull these people over. I think that, as a matter of fact,
for them it's the fundraising. I mean, they want that's fundraising and fishing, right? So even if they don't find some criminal record or warrant or whatever, they at the very least get to ring the cash register for $80 or $100 or whatever it is they pull you over for.
Yeah, and well, way beyond that is, then if there's a warrant, then they don't tell you, hey, go and take care of this. They throw the cuffs on you in the back of the car, and
they got to make sure you go somewhere to take care of it. Do not pass go. You're going direct to get
I don't know if you guys remember, there was a front sight instructor who was in Las Vegas and got pulled over, and they found out that he had forgotten to pay a stupid useless ticket, and was getting arrested, and all the guy says, wait a minute, and the cop is pulling out the taser, to tase him, and
was this
and
in
the
New
guy
Hampshire?
had an electrical issue with his heart, and he was afraid that the taser might just kill him.
It has happened where people with heart issues have had them, exacerbated and
of course,
cause heart attacks.
And this guy ran, and he ran away. To get away from the taser.
Oh, there's a felony right there, right? Running from the police.
Yep.
Well, I don't care if the counter is a death penalty. Sure. A felony is a lot easier.
Now,
to
where
take
did this
than
happen? Was this in New Hampshire? This guy that ran?
What's that?
Where was this? This guy that ran from the cops that you're describing?
He remember front sight firearms training. You guys used to do
they're out in Vegas.
advertising forum years ago. And I went out there myself and got a group together with David Champion.
I remember. Didn't they shoot that guy in the back when he was running away from him?
They did.
Yeah.
He was running towards another cop to explain to the other cop, and
he didn't die, did he? He survived that, if I recall correctly. He was like a libertarian guy.
I don't know what the final result was.
Yeah.
But this is just it, that we've got all these detainments. I want to limit detainments to things that will actually cause problems if they're not dealt with. In other words, and also something recorded. It needs to be recorded, and it needs to be, actually view something that if they don't interfere with, somebody's going to get hurt.
You're talking about if somebody's wanted for murder or something, arson, rape, or something like that.
Yes, and if there's a true crime out there that they're concerned about, there's certainly reason to investigate that.
There's a shocking number. You're absolutely right, Bad Slave, and thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate it.
Outstanding tickets is really just one tool in the police often use to go after someone that the state is trying to deal with. I mean, this happened to me, as people may not be that much aware of my own history. When I was vice chair of the LPNH, I was responsible for getting the state constitutional amendment passed that restricted eminent domain to only government-owned projects. And in response to that, the state police just pulled me over. They had determined that I had not paid a speeding ticket in Washington State in 1992, which that state had actually thrown out. The Washington State Supreme Court had thrown out as facially void, but they ignored that court ruling and decided that I was driving under suspension, and they busted me for driving under suspension,
which is an arrestable offense.
And then they judged that I was a habitual offender, and my license was suspended for 7 years.
Did you have to go to prison?
No, but I was living in a rural area, having a suspended license for 7 years is essentially house arrest.
Yeah.
And so, that was, my own experience dealing with the state. And, I'm not a hardened criminal, but I was somebody who, really kind of tweaked the powers that be with my political activity.
And they made you pay for it.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And that's not an uncommon story, whether it be the restaurateur who tries to run for a political office and then ends up getting his restaurant shut down due to some sort of manufactured health code violation. I mean, they'll come up with all kinds of stuff because they have the control. They have the men with guns, and they have the men with robes, and they will just basically get away with almost anything they want to get away with. And, of course, that's what we're seeing happen in Venezuela as well, where Nicolas Maduro can pretty much do whatever it is he wants to do at this point, targets his opposition quite commonly with arrest. Now, Juan Guaido is the man who's claiming to be president of Venezuela, contrary to Nicolas Maduro's claim of presidency. And he has yet to be arrested, but they have now frozen his bank accounts. They've initiated a criminal investigation on him and ordered him to not leave the country while they likely trump up some sort of nonsense to charge him with.
Yeah.
They haven't gotten to that point yet. The Supreme Court's order, according to the AP, comes as tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela reach a new high, with Maduro accusing the Trump administration of staging a coup against his presidency, and Guaido seeking to consolidate an interim government under his own leadership. Guaido has thus far managed to avoid arrest, and the Supreme Court did not strip him of his legislative immunity, which of course probably would be trivial for them to do if they wanted to, though the new investigation may signal that Maduro's socialist government is moving to take a more punitive approach. Speaking earlier outside the National Assembly, Guaido said he's aware of personal risks, but added, quote, "Venezuela is set on change, and the world is clearly conscious of what's happening." He says, "I don't underestimate the threat of persecution at the moment, but here we are." So again, this is a man who has clearly accepted a very realistic threat of violence, of some sort of targeting of him.
Absolutely, and it's clear that he's trying to do things civilly and not trying to create some kind of a guerrilla uprising. He's, a lot of activists are protesting in the streets peacefully against Maduro, supporting Guaido. So there's, it's hard for Maduro to claim that he's actually trying to overthrow the government when he hasn't used any violence at all.
Toll-free number here. The violence, of course, being used on the hands of Maduro and his men who are trying to quell these peaceful uprisings. There's more coming up here in moments. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. You can bring up what you want here on Free Talk Live.
Ike was such a sweet, lovable animal, and people would want to pet him, and they'd come up and they'd get close to him, and it would be this instant, oh! My dad didn't want to touch him. It's like, ooh, get the stinky dog away from me.
Even after we'd give her a bath, she would still stink.
Very stinky, both bad breath and bad gas. I asked the vet, and he said some dogs are just stinky.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dinovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
The ingredients convinced me that it was definitely worth trying. After about a week, he started smelling normal. My husband and I were really kind of astonished.
Dinovite is nutrition.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Smart Cash is a peer-to-peer digital currency that is fast, secure, and easy to use. Smart Cash is building a foundation that can support daily transactions for people everywhere. One feature that sets Smart Cash apart is the Smart Hive governance model and how the community can vote to fund the best projects with block rewards stored in the Smart Hive project treasury. Unlike other cryptocurrencies with voting systems, Smart Cash allows everyone to participate. One smart equals one vote. Learn more at smartcash.cc.
You want to know the 37 items you must have to survive a crisis? Then I've got some good news for you. Former CIA officer and New York Times best-selling author Jason Hansen is now giving listeners a free copy of his book, The Escape Bag Blueprint, 37 Items You Must Have to Survive a Crisis. You can claim your copy at freeescapebook.com. Don't delay. Jason reveals the guns, knives, flashlights, and water filters that could save your life in an economic collapse or grid-down event. Get your free book today, freeescapebook.com. freeescapebook.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial toll free. Join us here. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. In the studio with you tonight, it's Ian,
it's Vincent,
and Mike.
And also, Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. It's your premier source for everything Bitcoin related. Bitcoin.com can help you choose a Bitcoin wallet, buy Bitcoin, and show you where you can spend your Bitcoin. You can read the latest news or engage with the community on the Bitcoin forum. You can learn more at Bitcoin.com. Once again, that's Bitcoin.com. And lots of great features over there. Highly recommend their Bitcoin Academy as well. So we've been talking about Venezuela and kind of just giving updates on what's been happening over the last week. We didn't spend as much time this week covering it, certainly as we did last week when things were really heating up between the two sides claiming to be president of the nation of Venezuela. Juan Guaido, the upstart challenger to Nicolas Maduro, the now claimed second-term president. But there have been a bunch of countries, including the United States, that have come out, these governments of these countries have come out and said, we don't recognize Maduro as the president. We recognize this other guy, Guaido.
Including Brazil, Colombia,
many Latin
American countries. There's only about a handful that are supporting Maduro, and that's primarily Cuba, Iran, Russia, North Korea, the usual.
Has North Korea weighed in on their side?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's
I'm surprised North Korea went in favor of it, given they're trying to appease Trump.
Yeah.
You're 100% sure North Korea?
As I understand it, North Korea is on that.
All right. So the U.S., according to the AP, has emerged as Guaido's most powerful ally, announcing on Tuesday that it was giving him control of Venezuela's U.S. bank accounts. So they're transferring all of the money that's in the U.S. that Venezuela has into Guaido's hands.
So we're just straight up stealing wealth distribution?
Yeah, basically. Well, of course, it was probably stolen in the first place.
Yeah, these accounts were money that were payments from U.S. oil companies to the Venezuelan nationalized oil company for oil shipments to the U.S. to refineries. And so the U.S. had frozen those accounts. It was there's still some oil in transit, and they were allowing that oil to come in, and the money for that they were putting in the account but not letting Maduro handle it. And so now if they're turning those accounts over to Guaido, so that because they're recognizing him as the legitimate president, this is another step in their attempts to transfer power. So if Maduro's having his Guaido's domestic accounts frozen, then Guaido now has access
to a lot of money that he didn't have before. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo certified that Guaido has the authority to take control of any Venezuelan government accounts at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York or any other U.S.-insured banks. He said the certification would, quote, help Venezuela's legitimate government safeguard those assets for the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Well, now that's certainly an optimistic statement. Usually when you give governments money, they don't benefit the people. But we'll see.
The government already had the money. Yeah. They already had control of those. They're just changing who at the government is being recognized as being in control of that.
Exactly. Violent street demonstrations erupted last week, which we covered after Guaido, during a huge opposition rally in Caracas, declared he had assumed presidential powers under the Constitution and had planned to hold fresh elections to end Maduro's, quote, dictatorship. He's calling for nationwide walkouts as of Wednesday this week and another round of mass protests on Saturday as he seeks to ramp up pressure on Maduro. But so far, Maduro has shown no signs that he is looking to cede the presidency. In fact, he went on state television Tuesday to announce he was beefing up the nation's defense by expanding Venezuela's civilian armed militia to 2 million members. The reserve force was created by the late Hugo Chavez to create civilians to assist the armed forces and defend the socialist revolution from attacks. Quote, once more we'll come out victorious, said Maduro, who wore a green cap and shirt before rows of troops. We are on the right side of history. Sounds like famous last words to me. On Monday, the U.S. hit Venezuela's state-owned oil company with potentially devastating economic sanctions that could cost the already distressed nation billions in revenue. Russian Deputy Finance Minister Sergei Storchak told Russian state news agencies that there will probably be problems for Venezuela in paying its debts. Storchak says Venezuela owes Russia $3 billion and has repayments twice a year of around $100 million, with the next one due in March. And this is a government that can't even scrape enough money together in a lot of cases to fix its own oil tankers. They can't get enough money together to buy more money because they have printing presses that are run by private companies print the Bolivar. This was a story.
They don't have a supply of paper that can supply either paper to print money on or paper to make toilet paper.
That's correct. They don't. There's a huge problem with shortage on toilet paper there. Russia also has extensive commercial interests in Venezuela, including the state oil company's partnership with the Venezuelan state oil company, so the Russian state oil company, which is apparently called Rosneft, and their partnership with PDVSA, which is the Venezuelan company. Kremlin spokesbureaucrat Dmitry Peskov said that the Kremlin shares the view of the Venezuelan government that the U.S. sanctions are illegal and sees them as a tool of unfair competition by the United States, while the State Department, meanwhile, says Americans should not travel to Venezuela, warning of unrest, the threat of being arbitrarily arrested, and the danger of mass demonstrations erupting with little notice. Not to mention the insane crime that's going on the streets of Venezuela, where, if you're walking with a cell phone in your hand, somebody's likely to snatch it out of your hand.
And looting going on.
Lots of looting. If you've got a truck that you're driving in Venezuela, good luck getting to your destination. There are street gangs that have been waylaying truck drivers, especially the ones who are suspected to have food in the back.
Russia's not the only country that Venezuela owes a lot of money to. They also owe a lot of money to China.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Russia has stationed some bombers there.
In China?
In Venezuela. There, some blackjack bombers are stationed at the Caracas airport there. Yep. So whatever purpose those might be there is...
Well, and what we reported on earlier this week, which was probably the event they're talking about where Maduro was commenting, was where he brought out a lot of his Russian military hardware and did a show of force. They shot up like a hillside or whatever, and just to prove that they're still in charge, that they still have guns, and they're not afraid to use them.
The interesting thing with the blackjack bomber is its primary mission through the Cold War had been to carry supersonic cruise missiles for attacking U.S. Carrier groups that would ostensibly be used to support Europe in the event that the Soviet Union would be invading Western Europe. And so that putting that bomber there in Venezuela is sort of an indicator that they're warning the United States not to bring in any carrier groups to support any sort of a change in government.
Well, there's definitely it is a potential flashpoint for international conflict, which so far has been avoided.
Yep.
But it ain't over yet. In fact, you've got an update on the military aspect of Venezuela.
Oh yeah, an analysis. Right? Yep.
So Vincent's going to share that with us on the way. Your calls and thoughts certainly welcome. If you want to join us, you can take control of the airwaves here. You don't have to talk about Venezuela, but I find it fascinating, and I hope you guys agree, because it's a fascinating look at basically an economic train wreck. And we can get into more of it coming up here in moments. 855, 450, free like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
Most of you know that heart disease is the #1 silent killer in the U.S. What if I told you for just $54.95 a month you could fight against heart disease naturally? At Heart and Body Extract, we've been helping thousands of people get back to a healthier heart. Don't just take my word for it. Check out all of the success stories at hbextract.com, or to order, call 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. hbextract.com. Don't risk it when you can take charge of it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, bring up whatever you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live brought to you by AnyPay.global. If you are somebody who is a owner or manager of a retail establishment, an actual real-life, physical, brick-and-mortar retail establishment, and you want to start taking cryptocurrency, accepting it from your customers at the point of sale, then AnyPay.global makes it super easy. You just go to AnyPay.global, create your account, username, password. That's all you need. There's no application. There's no fees. There's no waiting period. You just open up your account. You put in your cryptocurrency addresses into the back end. And I just was actually in their back end the other day, and I noticed that, I don't know if this is officially announced yet, but it's in the back end. I noticed they've got Ripple support now, so there's all kinds of options there. Lots of different cryptos. They, I believe, just re-enabled Bitcoin Cash, so you can now accept Bitcoin Cash again if my assessment was correct. And you can go, of course, they've had Dash for quite a while, Zcash, Zen. Go to AnyPay.global, and of course the classic Bitcoin BTC. AnyPay.global is where you can get signed up, and if you are a merchant, it does not cost you anything to actually accept cryptocurrency using AnyPay, which is pretty awesome. It's AnyPay.global. Vincent, you had also an update on Venezuela. We've been talking about the ongoing conflict, which seems to have been escalating somewhat into the streets recently between Nicolas Maduro, the self-proclaimed second-term president of Venezuela, and a challenger from the opposition party, which is also a party of socialists, Juan Guaido. He's getting backing from the United States as well as many Latin American countries. What else is in the news about this?
Oh, it's a lot's in the news. It's heating up. So this piece I have here, it's from the Washington Post. It's titled, "Will Venezuela's military back or abandon Maduro? Here are the 4 things it will consider." And before I get into that, just sort of like as a preface, because I've been looking into this in the week, Maduro went on Twitter the other day, and which is funny. In the States, you could get kicked off Twitter for being mean to someone, but they allow dictators on there.
Yeah.
He tweeted in English, "People from #USA, I ask for your support in order to reject the interference of Donald Trump's administration, which intends to turn my homeland into a, quote, Vietnam War in Latin America. Don't allow it," Maduro posted on Twitter in his account. And I saw, there's this.
God, I hope that doesn't happen.
This is and from a video that he was speaking in Spanish, so I'm trusting the translator, where he tells Donald Trump hands off, and I think he even said that if the U.S. invades, it'll become even worse than Vietnam.
The mother of all battles.
Moab.
And so so he's ramping up his rhetoric against Trump. Trump just tweeted yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, about the situation, saying the fight for freedom has begun. And so here, back to the Washington Post, it just begins, "Can Nicolas Maduro hold on to power in Venezuela? That may turn largely on whether the military will stand by him."
That's always what it turns on, right? As soon as a military switches sides, as soon as they decide they've had enough with whoever it is that's in charge, it's over for whoever it is that's in charge. Who's going to defend him?
Pretty much. Or if the military decides to step aside and let the people decide what to do. I mean, you had, particularly, for instance, the Arab Spring in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
The Egyptian army, stayed out of the whole thing and basically let the people rise up and get rid of Mubarak.
And then they came back, and then now I believe Egypt is still under.
Didn't it get military control after that?
Yeah, after the Muslim Brotherhood pretty much screwed things up, then the army finally stepped in and put a new, strongman in power, and so we've got what's his name, Mohammed Morsi.
It's whoever it is in the military backs then. Yeah. And whether it's whatever the tactic is that they choose is irrelevant, right? So whether they choose to forcibly depose the person as a military tactic, or, as you're describing, step aside and watch as they let the people forcibly depose the person and then step in and take over, either way.
Well, or sometimes, I think people have to remember that, with all this propaganda about democracy in the U.S., letting the people, quote, run things doesn't make anything necessarily any better. I mean, it's been throughout. From what I've heard, obviously I don't live there, but things in Egypt have improved since the Muslim Brotherhood got kicked out and the military was there. Turkey, back, Ataturk, he was a strongman dictator type, and he was able to stabilize the country. And now today it's second world thing. So obviously, having a military-backed government is never a good thing for liberty. But the alternative, just because it's not the military running things, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be for freedom.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
So they have 4 questions here. Question number 1 is: do the military elite have personal stakes in the survival of a regime? And so it goes on. Of course, military leaders consider their own material interests, so long as a regime delivers high pay and access to business opportunities,
or in this case, food.
Whether clean or corrupt, these elites have strong incentives to stay loyal. So I guess we're talking about the elite here. So their basic, the pyramid of needs. So their food needs, I imagine, or say they have like a stockpile or access. And so this is slightly above the survival stuff. So this is like what they have like long term. But politics also matter. In ethnically divided societies, which Venezuela is not, ethnic proximity may be important. The Syrian military's Alawi units have stood by dictator Bashar al-Assad all throughout the bloodshed because their survival remains linked to Assad's, given their common ethnic identity. Further, appointing officers to high-level positions, including cabinet appointments, can cultivate the political allegiance of the military elite. Today's Brazil presents a classic example of this strategy, with newly elected President Jair Bolsonaro recently designated...
Isn't this the Trump of Brazil or something like that?
That's what they're calling him. Yeah. Recently designated several generals to head key ministries. Most important, if the military elite are implicated in a regime's criminal behavior, that strengthens their loyalty. In researching how deeply Argentina's military officers were involved in human rights atrocities during that country's, quote, dirty war from 1976 to 83, one of us learned how they made a pact never to betray the regime and reveal its dark secrets. Reminds you sort of like a gang, in order to get initiated, you have to do something very illegal,
bad.
like kill someone. And number 2, the military will assess the leader's resolve and likelihood of his survival. If the military correctly calculates that the leader will prevail, then staying loyal will pay off. But if they believe the leader will be on the way out, why put their necks on the line? For instance, in China, the military stood by Deng Xiaoping during the 1989 Tiananmen crisis, when tens of thousands of students demonstrated for democratic freedoms in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, thanks to Deng's success at projecting that he was fully in charge and had support of all major socio-political forces. So it seems that's sort of what Maduro is doing with his show of force and at his rally.
Well, Maduro has been trying to prove that the military is still on his side. He's been publicly saying that. He's had his military brass publicly say that, like to state that they are with Maduro, and then he brings out the military hardware as a show of force to prove that he's in charge.
I'll point out that the top military attaché at the Venezuelan embassy in Washington
has switched
and is supporting Guaido.
Once he was safely in Washington, D.C. Yeah. And that is an interesting indicator, canary in the mine, so to speak. Maybe that is an indicator that there are other people in the military who would love to do the same thing, but they just don't. That's got to be a tough one to feel out. Having those conversations as a military person, if you're also in the military, Mike, and we're both executives, high-ranking people in the military, I don't know whether you're truly loyal to Maduro or whether there's a chance that you would want to turn against Maduro. If I bring it up to you, then I'm going to find out, like, maybe you aren't loyal to Maduro.
Oh, no, I'm always going to be loyal up until I don't have to be.
Right, but feeling that out, right? Like having that conversation of bringing it up, kind of hanging it out there to see what you say. If you are loyal to Maduro and I'm not loyal to Maduro, then you'll go to Maduro, you'll go and report me as being trying to undermine Maduro. So, having that conversation is a risky thing to do.
Of course it is. And it's what's interesting is that whole conflict is the basis of the Byzantine generals problem that's backs how the cryptocurrencies work.
Okay. I don't know if I'm familiar with it. I know I've heard of it, but
so it's the Byzantine generals problem is that it's sort of a version of the prisoner's dilemma.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the idea is that in the Byzantine Empire, you had different armies commanded by different generals, and for them to successfully take over a city and lay it under siege, they would have to all attack at once. If only some attacked and some retreated, they would be defeated. So they all have to either retreat or they all have to attack.
So this is sort of a variant on that, except in real life here. We got more on the way. Your thoughts welcome. You've got more on this as well, Vincent. This is Free Talk Live.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help. Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite. Pick up 2 bottles of Lico Chops, get the 3rd bottle free. New improved Lico Chops with omega-6, omega-3, vitamin E, and now 6 extra direct-fed microbials. Even better for the digestive tract and immune system. And dogs love it. Try Lico Chops. Buy 2, get 1 free. This is Henry Lukasevic for Dynavite.
DINOVITE.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
A doctor's office visit for erectile dysfunction on my smartphone? That's crazy.
No, that's the bestedpill.com. ED can affect 40% of men by age 40. Now there's a 95% less expensive option than Viagra. After a live confidential video consult with a fully licensed doctor, we ship medicines fast, free, and direct in discreet packaging. Read thousands of 5-star reviews. Click thebestedpill.com. That's THE bestedpill.com, the online doctor's office.
Bewildered paralegal Caitlin Levy says that after returning home from work today, it occurred to her that oddly at no point during her day was she harassed, leered at, or made to feel humiliated or physically threatened.
It's weird. Looking back on it, I suddenly realized that not one strange man made a creepy comment at me or an obscene gesture or a sleazy look for like the whole day. How can that be?
The 29-year-old told reporters that even at points in her day when she is traditionally almost certain to be made uncomfortable by at least one or two leering male strangers, not a single such instance occurred.
I actually got to walk from the train to my office and never once catch some weirdo smiling at me or looking me up and down or slowing down his car to yell some shit out the window at me. I felt weirdly safe or something.
This is the Onion News Network.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in here. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Mike.
By the way, I want to say thanks to Slim, who is a Free Talk Live amplifier, long-time amplifier of the show. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And the idea is that you, for $5 a month, can help us out, help us get on new radio stations around the country, bring new internet listeners on board, and expose new people to the ideas of freedom. In fact, we're going to be welcoming a couple new stations coming up tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to that. And a lot of this is because of listeners like you, listeners like Slim, becoming Free Talk Live amplifiers. And Slim's one of our longest-running amplifiers out there, so thank you so much for the continued contributions. And if you really like what we do here, you like the fact that we're here 7 nights a week talking about liberty and peace and freedom and cryptocurrency on actual broadcast radio, as well as satellite and internet and podcast, these different methods to deliver this content to people's ears. If you appreciate the work we do and you want to get some cool perks, like access to some benefits that other people don't get access to, you can go to amp.freetalklive.com to learn more about it. Get signed up with PayPal, credit card, or Bitcoin BTC. It's up to you over at amp.freetalklive.com. We sure do appreciate it if you do that. And once again, thanks to Slim. By the way, if you want to be opted into getting mentioned on the air as an amplifier, you do have to opt into that. It's not by default. We will keep you anonymous by default, so you've got to fill out, like what you want us to call you on the air, that kind of thing. And there's instructions on how to do that. When you sign up, I will send you those instructions usually within several days. So go to amp.freetalklive.com. Vincent, you're looking at the questions that military generals and such in Venezuela, and basically anywhere where there's a potential uprising against an established government ruler like Nicolas Maduro, what are the questions they have to be asking themselves in order to determine whether or not they should continue on the course and back Maduro or back the other guy, or like you suggested, the third option, Mike, is to just sit back and do nothing. So stop backing Maduro, but not necessarily back the other guy and just watch the carnage.
Yep.
So those are some of the questions they've been asking, probably themselves quietly, these questions. And then we touched on this Byzantine generals problem of, well, if you are a general within the Venezuelan military who is against Maduro, how do you test the waters with your fellow generals and find out whether or not they're on your side or whether they're willing to also be turncoats against Maduro? Because if you do and they're not against Maduro, then you've just given yourself up as a turncoat, and you're probably going to get a bullet in the head in front of everybody on live television.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you wanted to share more, Vincent.
Yeah, absolutely. Here they have something else to consider. Military elites are deeply concerned about the integrity of their institution. Military leaders care about preserving discipline, hierarchy, and especially unity. What social scientists call institutional fracture kills military effectiveness. The military leadership wields power only as long as its subordinates stay loyal. If the lower ranks refuse to follow orders, and I've known a lot of people in the military who go to Keene, and the people who give the orders are the officers, but the people who make sure they're carried out are the NCOs and non-commissioned officers. And so those are, the lower, they're with the.
Aren't you former military? Mike?
Yes, I'm a veteran. Yep. So the NCOs are your sergeants. Mm-hmm. So they're non-commissioned, but they're considered officers. Just not commissioned officers.
What does it mean to be commissioned?
A commissioned officer is the gentleman. So the idea of under a military organization is that you have the officers who know how to get stuff done to manage a military.
Politicians.
No, the NCOs are the guys, the sergeants that actually know what to do in combat
on the ground.
And so then you've got the officers who are from the aristocracy, who are highly educated,
they
part
go to
of
the
the
fancy
establishment,
schools,
and they're commissioned by the government to lead the military units, and they are the ones with the authority. And so you have the officers, the commissioned officers rely on the non-commissioned officers to actually build the mission, the unit effectiveness by knowing.
Now, can a non-commissioned officer become a commissioned officer?
Yes, and they can do that either through a battlefield commission, because they've got a shortage of officers in a given battlefield, and they give one a what's called a brevet commission, and that can be later confirmed, and they'll go to officer candidate school, or if an NCO earns a degree, they can then go to OCS and become a commissioned officer.
Gotcha.
I think like one good sort of a fictional explanation of it. Ian, you've obviously seen James Cameron's Aliens, correct?
Yep.
So they have the lieutenant who is new, and then they had the the black guy who was a sergeant. So he was the NCO, and then the Gorman was his.
And that was I was mentioning earlier when we were talking about Tulsi Gabbard, is that she enlisted as a soldier in the Hawaiian National Guard.
This is the Democrat.
She was a private. And she, became a sergeant. She was a medical staffer in Iraq, and then she got her degree. When she completed her degree, she went to OCS and she became a commissioned officer. And she went through the ranks.
Gotcha.
So the military leadership wields power only as long as its subordinates stay loyal. If the lower ranks refuse to follow orders, the armed forces cannot fulfill their central mission, safeguarding national security.
Now, the translation of that is safeguarding the government, because the military doesn't really care if they roll a tank through your house in order to protect their military bases.
That can be a yes or no answer depending upon what nation and government you're talking about. In the U.S. military, and being a veteran, I know that a lot of soldiers and a lot of officers take this very seriously. When you're sworn in, you swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Sure, but we all know they're going to do what they're told.
No, you don't know that, because a lot of them take that oath seriously, because you're supposed to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so,
right, but how many people in the military have
speaking,
gone and arrested the president? I mean, that doesn't happen.
That's a good question. So,
how many of them refused to deploy to Iraq? How many refused to deploy to Afghanistan?
A good number have been
court-martialed.
A good number have been court-martialed for refusing to wear UN helmets or recognize the UN authority when they were on UN missions.
Okay.
So, there are quite a few. And then there's a movement of...
When you say quite a few, do you mean like 0.5%?
I would say...
Because it doesn't seem like a very big movement.
Well, in terms of that, I would say there's probably been hundreds that have done that.
Because there was that one guy from Hawaii during the Bush administration who refused to deploy and was willing to go to the brig for it.
Right.
But... maybe there are others. You just don't hear their stories. There's no movement of these people.
Right. But there is a movement of veterans, both from the military and from law enforcement, called the Oath Keepers, who their mission is to educate active duty military and police officers and personnel about what their oath of enlistment means, and that actually means that they are responsible for defending a constitution against a tyrannical government. And this is something that where the Oath Keepers organization is seen by the establishment as a serious threat. Yes.
So if you become an Oath Keeper and you're not a veteran, you're probably going to be in trouble.
No. There's a lot of civilians who join the Oath Keepers.
No. I mean within the military. If you are in active duty military and you start wearing Oath Keepers stuff around, I don't imagine that's going to go real well for you.
But it depends upon the unit. Some units, particularly National Guard units from, let's say, red states, tend to be a lot more Oath Keeper friendly than those from, say, blue states. So you're going to see a wide variance there. But yes, under Obama there was a lot of action against active duty service people who were found to be Oath Keepers. But it's still got a very large membership in the millions. So I think that at least in the U.S., there's a very strong recognition among active and veteran military personnel that their loyalty is to the Constitution and not to the government or any given leader. But that sort of loyalty can't say with any kind of certainty whether there's a similar level of loyalty in militaries in other nations.
Also, in just another thing to think of, the U.S. military is at the moment volunteer-based, while the Venezuelan, just from what I could look up, it appears there's some type of conscription there.
In Venezuela?
Yeah.
It's not a surprise. That's actually fairly, I would say it's still pretty common in a lot of places in the world,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Even
I know
in Europe,
South Korea does it.
Even in Europe, I think Norway does it too.
Yeah, so we got more coming up here. Do you have more of this analysis?
Yes.
Do you want to share about what are these people in the Venezuelan military going through right now? What sort of things are going through their heads as to whether or not they're going to remain loyal to Maduro, and if not, how do you change over? The one guy in the United States made the switch while he was safely in Washington D.C. and out of Maduro's hands. More coming up here in moments. Hour 3's next. This is Free Talk Live.
Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us. 800-213-9264. 800-213-9264. 800-213-9264. Call right now before it's too late. 800-213-9264.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Find us online at libertybeat.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your weekend edition of the Liberty Beat for the week ending February 1st, 2019. Gold opened Friday at $1,321. Silver opened at $15.97. And Bitcoin is trading around $3,442. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, Twitter has announced that it took down about 2,000 accounts in Venezuela, most of which it claimed were engaged in a state-backed influence campaign. That comes amid accusations of a U.S.-led coup attempt. The San Francisco-based social media giant released a blog post Thursday saying it removed 1,196 accounts located in Venezuela, which it deemed to appear to be engaged in a state-backed influence campaign targeting domestic audiences. Twitter also removed another 764 accounts and noted, quote, "We are unable to definitively tie the accounts located in Venezuela to information operations of a foreign government against another country," end quote. The Twitter purge of accounts was met with criticism and accusations of censorship. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has announced that the U.S. will withdraw from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty immediately, prompting threats of a Russian response from Moscow. Pompeo said the U.S. could return to compliance with the treaty if Moscow meets Washington's demands within the next 180 days. To convince the United States to back down, Washington has insisted that Russia cease development of a new cruise missile. Moscow has repeatedly denied claims that it's in violation of the treaty. The withdrawal will formally take place on Saturday. President Donald Trump said the United States' NATO allies support the decision to withdraw from the treaty. The U.S. has also expressed concerns that its compliance with the treaty has benefited China, which isn't a party to the agreement. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And Liberty Beat listeners right now can save 10% at checkout by using promo code SNLS. This is the weekend edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news. In a surprising vote Thursday, the United States Senate voted 68-23 to pass a resolution from Majority Leader Mitch McConnell expressing opposition to President Trump's plan to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria and expressing opposition to any theoretical pullout from Afghanistan that might result from a negotiated deal to end that war. The anti-media, citing antiwar.com, reports the non-binding resolution was passed with overwhelming support from the Republican majority, setting them squarely against parts of President Trump's foreign policy. A number of Democrats who voted against it expressed concern that it was tantamount to a vote advocating a state of permanent war. The 2001 authorization for the Afghan war was built around 9/11 and the defeat of al-Qaeda. Neither are hugely relevant issues in 2019 Afghanistan, and a peace treaty being negotiated centers heavily around the Taliban, promising to keep al-Qaeda and ISIS out of the country in the future. Congress never actually authorized the war in Syria at all, dodging that obligation repeatedly because of political concerns. President Obama invaded Syria unilaterally to fight ISIS, And President Trump has declared ISIS effectively defeated now that they virtually have no territory remaining. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. It's simple. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details on how to raise your business's profile in partnership with the Liberty Beat. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the weekend edition of the Liberty Beat for the week ending Friday, February 1st, 2019. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Hamburglar urges a Senate subcommittee to rubble. This is Doyle Redland reporting. Hamburger advocate and convicted felon Hamburglar denounced a prison system he called rubble as he testified before the Senate subcommittee on penal reform. Hamburglar, convicted in 1998 of breaking and entering a McDonald's hamburger franchise in South Beloit, Wisconsin, and currently serving a sentence of 3 to 5 years, made this impassioned plea before being interrupted by U.S. Senator Bob Smith of Rhode Island.
Certainly there is room for improvement in our prison system, but I would hardly call the current situation rubble.
After delivering his message to the subcommittee, Hamburglar was promptly placed in chains and returned to prison to serve out the remainder of his sentence in solitary confinement. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. You can bring up anything that you want. Again, 855-450-3733. We've been focusing on the continuing drama out of Venezuela, looking at the military side of things now. Vincent, you've had a story you've been sharing with us here about the dilemma that some of these military top brass might be going through privately, because they wouldn't want to let on that they're going through it publicly, considering Maduro is currently the current so-called president of Venezuela, is making a big show of how loyal his military is to them. He wants everybody to know that the military is firmly on his side and nobody has been shaken. Their faith and their firmness behind Maduro has not been shaken one iota, and he's been trying to prove that to the world. As likely behind the scenes, there's a good chance that some of these guys are giving it second and third thoughts as to whether or not they should remain backing Maduro, especially with other Latin American countries and the United States and other countries from in Europe and elsewhere saying, we're not recognizing Maduro anymore. We're recognizing this other guy, Juan Guaido, the so-called opposition leader. Joining you tonight, by the way, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Mike.
We're going to get deeper into this coming up here. Cray is on the line to start things out here on our Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Calling from Michigan. Go ahead, Cray.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
I just wanted to make a quick comment, which I think you guys might find to be a really good talking point about the oil reserves in Venezuela.
Yeah.
If you pull up the Wikipedia page for the oil reserves, it says the proven oil reserves in Venezuela are recognized as the largest in the world. In addition to that, a little bit lower on the page, it says in addition to conventional oil, they have oil sand deposits similar to the size of those in Canada. And according to the United States Geological Survey, the Orinoco Belt alone is estimated to contain 900 to 1,400 billion barrels of heavy crude oil in proven and unproven deposits. So my point is this issue and crisis supposedly over in Venezuela, could this possibly maybe be related to the oil and these oil companies?
Yes, it could.
And on both sides, I'll mention. For instance, one reason that Russia does not want Venezuela to return to a market economy
because they're getting subsidized prices, right?
No, because Russia is one of the biggest oil-producing countries in the world.
But they have some kind of partnership with Venezuela.
They want Venezuela oil production to be low so that Russia can sell their own oil at higher prices.
Well, there was some story that just tonight there was an agreement that they have. Now, it did not describe what the agreement was, but there is some kind of deal between the Russian oil company and the Venezuelan oil company.
That may be, and that may be a way for Venezuela to pay its debts, to pay it with oil.
Could be, because they don't have dollars.
Right. But Russia does not want Venezuela to return to a market economy where it will increase its oil production from the current million barrels per day to the 3 million barrels per day, which they had before they turned to socialism.
Yeah, and Russia also doesn't want to lose their ally, basically.
Right.
They're buddy-buddy with Maduro.
Yeah.
But I think you're right about that, Ikret, because for the long time, the U.S. military has been targeting oil-rich countries. I mean, they've ignored many of the other areas of the world with despotic dictators, like a lot of the African nations, for instance. They just ignore what goes on in those places.
Well, they had troops in Nigeria because Nigeria has oil.
Yeah.
And Nigeria has pipelines going from the inland oil fields to the coast, and those were getting siphoned, and there were a lot of piracy, stealing as much as half of the productivity going through the pipelines there, and so and those were being used to fund rebels against the Nigerian government, and so the U.S. actually had some troops. It did not get much news play here in the West, but we did have a significant number of troops there who were helping to deal with that whole issue.
Right. So I think you are definitely onto something there, Rick Ray. Anything else on the issue you want to share?
Not really.
Thanks for the call tonight, dude. I appreciate it. Good one. The toll-free number here, 855-450 free. Sounded good there, by the way, on our Discord on-air call-in line rooms. You can sound that good. You just have to download the Discord app to whatever device you prefer. We don't know if he was on his phone or if he was on his computer. Either way is fine, and then join into one of those top rooms on our Discord server. And you can get into our Discord server by going to discord.lrn.fm. It is super easy, and it's there 24/7. It's not just for calling the show. It's also for chatting with other Free Talk Live listeners and such. So, Vincent, there was more, I think, to your story from, was it the Washington Post?
Yes, Washington Post. Yes, it's they call it an analysis, so not an opinion thing. Worse still, division within the ranks of military could trigger civil war. That's why the military leadership will not stand by a regime that deeply divides its forces and threatens their defection. Number 4 that they're considering, that public opinion about the regime may nudge the military. Military leaders also consider whether civil society and the public at large support the regime. If citizens,
well, right, because their family is in civil society. They have to. If all of their family members are no longer behind Maduro, that's going to probably weigh heavily on them.
And they don't want to be occupiers of their own nation because that's just setting themselves up to fail. I mean, as in like full on being against the people.
They are technically right now.
Oh, but I mean, like if they let's say there's like massive, like more like 90% or whatever crazy number of support for Guaido versus Maduro,
and who knows what the split is? I don't know. And how do you really get honest, results out of any kind of poll in Venezuela? Who do you talk to?
That's the difficult question, because just as Maduro and Chavez had packed the Supreme Court, they have at least twice rewritten the national constitution, and they thought they had the parliament packed with their own guys, but this last election, the opposition has gained a majority in the parliament.
Right, so Maduro created his own buddies version of parliament, basically.
And he still lost that. So
no, he didn't lose his own one.
No, that the parliament that Guaido leads.
Yeah, that was the original one.
That's the one that Maduro restructured with the revision of the national constitution. So he still lost that in the latest election.
Right.
If citizens generally perceive a regime as illegitimate, the military elite face a greater chance that junior officers or conscripts will defect. This is especially likely if junior officers are poorly paid and identify with average citizens' economic plight, and if conscripts are drafted from a socio-economic cross-section of society. And they mentioned Tiananmen Square before, and I remember I did research on it once, that like the soldiers the Chinese got to put down the insurrection, or not the protest in Tiananmen Square.
They weren't from around there, right?
No, they're from the rural areas, right? Because, having a bunch of rural, country bumpkins, quote, going against these, Poindexter intellectuals, they were able to use a class.
Well, that's a classic move, is you always want to have people, if you're going to, rule over a land area, you want to have people from outside of that land area be the troops, because you don't want them running into their buddies from high school, or whatever.
And that's classically where you have a divide between, for instance, a National Guard type organization where you have local troops who are part-time soldiers who are from the area versus your active duty troops who may be from anywhere else.
Anywhere, right.
Defections are even more likely if civil society can mount a large and peaceful popular protests, which don't trigger the military's impulse to repress in the name of order and security. We saw this in Egypt's 2011 popular uprising. Mid-ranking officers shared the economic struggles of the masses. Massive popular demonstrations were conducted carefully, avoiding violent provocation. Ordinary soldiers fraternized with civilians. The generals then chose to abandon Hosni Mubarak and support his ouster as president. But the military need not side with the opposition. It could simply sit on the sidelines, neither supporting nor opposing protesters, as happened during the color revolutions in Eastern Europe between 2000 and 2004.
Right.
If that happens, leaders may marshal other security forces, variously named the Republican Guard, the National Guard, the police. The regime's fate then turns on whether these alternative forces can and will subdue the demonstrators.
Indeed, and that's where we find ourselves, at least somewhat today, with many demonstrations in the streets. Juan Guaido calling for further demonstrations to take place on Saturday, so tomorrow. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. If you want to join us, you can bring up what you want. Take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live. Coming up, measles outbreak. We'll tell you about it.
You want to know the 37 items you must have to survive a crisis? Then I've got some good news for you. Former CIA officer and New York Times best-selling author Jason Hansen is now giving listeners a free copy of his book, The Escape Bag Blueprint, 37 Items You Must Have to Survive a Crisis. You can claim your copy at freeescapebook.com. Don't delay. Jason reveals the guns, knives, flashlights, and water filters that could save your life in an economic collapse or grid-down event. Get your free book today, freeescapebook.com. freeescapebook.com.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Smart Cash is a peer-to-peer digital currency that is fast, secure, and easy to use. Smart Cash also features Smart Rewards, a price stabilization mechanism, and a way to encourage long-term holding. Long-term holders are key to the project's success. You can earn Smart Rewards on any address for which you hold the private keys, which holds at least 1,000 Smart for 1 month and does not make any outgoing transactions during that time. Smart Rewards are distributed every 47,500 blocks to all eligible addresses. Learn more at smartcash.cc.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees!
What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your get intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Pure Life Water, helping you drink better and live better by providing a zero-calorie alternative to sugary drinks. Visit us at nestle-purelife.us. When kids are playing, they often don't want to stop to keep hydrated, so send them out with a bottle of water and encourage them to take frequent drink breaks, or call them inside for a quick sip. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. We've been talking about the latest in Venezuela and some of the challenges that are being faced by different sides in that conflict. Which hopefully will not bubble over into international conflict, but it definitely has that potential. Looking at what the military brass are probably considering very quietly, which of course is the question of whether or not to continue backing Nicolas Maduro, the self-proclaimed second-term president there, who is now being opposed by another claimed president, Juan Guaido, who has the backing of the National Assembly, while Maduro has the backing, for now, of the military and his Supreme Court as well. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Mike.
Free Talk Live is brought to you by Smart Cash. It's a peer-to-peer digital currency. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. Smart Cash is building a foundation that can support daily transactions for people everywhere. They get some really cool features, like the fact that Smart Cash allows everybody to participate. So if you have one Smart, and right now, or as of yesterday, the last time I checked the price, one Smart was just over 1 penny. So it is not hard to get one Smart. If you got one Smart, you've got one vote. And if you got 1,000 Smart, you got 1,000 votes in their Smart Hive governance model, which allows you to vote on the different proposals that people make as to what to do with sort of the Smart Hive Project Treasury, which is, some money that's put together, smart basically, that's put together. Every block gets mined. Some of that block reward goes into this treasury, and it adds up. And so they've got some money to spend. You get to decide how if you are one of the smart holders. In fact, you can vote from right inside the Smart Cash wallet. Go to smartcash.cc. and you can learn more about it there. Plus, you can learn about smart rewards, which actually reward you for holding on to the crypto. So if you have at least 1,000 smart, which again is around $10 worth right now, you hold that in one of your smart wallets that you control the keys for. Then after a month's time of you holding it and not spending out of that wallet, you will receive smart rewards. And if you keep holding for more months, you keep receiving smart rewards. Go to smartcash.cc to learn more. Vincent, you had a wrap-up section of this piece from the Washington Post about the dilemma facing these military brass in Venezuela.
Absolutely. So taking all of that into consideration, it ends with, what does all this suggest for Venezuela's future? On the one hand, backing Maduro has brought the military elite economic opportunities, for instance.
Like food.
Well, it gets into it. Like the military runs PDVSA, the state oil company. And
really?
And military officers profit from being involved in a lucrative government-run drug trafficking network. Further, Maduro has promoted military officers to high political offices, figuring those officers will defend the regime because they have so much to lose if they fall out of office. Finally, Maduro has shown
That's what you call a military dictatorship.
Finally, Maduro has shown a resolute commitment to holding on to power, which means staying loyal could very well pay off. On the other hand, soldiers and National Guardsmen see firsthand in their families, neighborhoods all around, the nation's dire economic suffering. With inflation running at nearly 1,000,000%, pay raises aren't really helping lower-ranking officers and the enlisted. And since Juan Guaido, the head of the National Assembly and self-declared interim president, has offered amnesty for past human rights offenses to military leaders who leave Maduro, he's shifted their calculations in his direction. We don't know yet whether civil society can mobilize large, multi-class peaceful protests that will encourage the military to abandon the government, nor do we know whether smaller police forces or militias will be strong enough to enforce Maduro's reign should the military decide to stay quartered. But the logic of military's calculus is clear.
The military coups generally are not launched by the generals and admirals. They usually happen with mid to lower level officers. For instance, Chavez himself, when he first staged his first coup, he was just a captain in the Venezuelan Air Force. So, and that's pretty common historically in a lot of coups, where you have it's the mid-level and lower-level officers who are dissatisfied with the amount of spoils coming down, one might say, and they're more in touch with the people on the street and their struggles. And
that's why Gaddafi's the only colonel who ever outranked a general.
Yeah. Let's go to the phones here. We got David in New Mexico listening online. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I had told you recently about that family court judge in Albuquerque, Deborah Davis Walker, who was crashed her car or caused a crash, and the cop found out she was drunk while she was driving. And
drunk judge, DUI.
Yeah. And so at least she did the right thing, and she immediately resigned, so she's gone.
Did video come out of that, by the way? Was there video footage?
There appears, I was looking right now, and I found a still photograph that appears to be a screenshot of a video, so there must be a video out there, but I haven't found it yet. I was looking while I was on hold, so there must be something, because
that video is gold.
Or a mugshot.
If somebody can find that video, if that video leaks out from the police department, I want to hear what that judge tried to say to that cop. Because she pulled the "Do you know who I am?" card. You know she did.
Absolutely.
I hope so. Yeah. Got to keep up the but yeah, I'll look for it, and there should be one. And there was additional to that, there was a number of like a year back or whatever it was, that state legislator Monica Youngblood.
Right, there was video of that one, because you called about that, and we pulled that video up where she absolutely was she state rep, you said?
Yeah, state rep Monica Youngblood.
Right, drunk. She found guilty, by the way, according to the news updates on that.
Yeah, she was found guilty, but the recent news is she was dragged into court on an alleged probation violation. The probation office does random because alcohol was part of her crime.
Right.
And remember, it's worth noting that she was a huge crusader she had a bill that was intended to put stiffer penalties on those that refused a breathalyzer test. And then she went and refused a breathalyzer test. So she was doing exactly what she was complaining that other people were doing. But anyway, she got busted for the probation office says that she diluted they do random urine screenings because, her alcohol was in her crime. And so they do random urine screenings for alcohol consumption. And they accused her of diluting the sample that she provided in an attempt to cover up that she'd been drinking. And so
that's a felony.
Anyhow, yeah. Hopefully.
Now, what was the judge's name again?
The judge is Deborah Walker, and sometimes you see it as Deborah Davis Walker, and her mugshot is right there on the Albuquerque. If you do Albuquerque, search for Albuquerque News and call up, like KOB, KRQE. You'll see her her mugshot there. And,
good riddance to bad rubbish. Now, the question, of course, is how many of these judges actually have drinking problems? Because, these people, I don't imagine many of them are actually really happy with their lives. And it's just speculation.
No, well, Actually, here, to answer your question, these are just the recent ones. If you go back historically in Albuquerque, there was a chief judge, John Brennan, that I know he had some issues. He got busted for using cocaine, and he got arrested for domestic violence for beating up his girlfriend at home, and that was while he was chief judge, and so he resigned.
David, thanks for the update on corrupt politicians galore there in Albuquerque. Of course, it's no different than any other city in the United States. These people are everywhere, these hypocrites. More coming up.
Homemakers. Groceries by mail ships free. Try our amazing bacon. It stores in your pantry. No refrigeration required. Our value-added packaging provides a 10-year shelf life and protects the leanest, thickest, center-cut, fully cooked bacon in America today. Ready to eat right from the pouch or warm and serve. Always priced less than grocery for your everyday use. Savory and delicious. Order today at readytoeatbacon.com. readytoeatbacon.com.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon you'll need a plan and place to survive. Forget bunkers. You're not a live underground gopher. You need survivalist camps, the ultimate fully functional, off-the-grid mobile survival bug-out house that's well-equipped and custom-built to outlast any other RV or trailer. Bold statement? You bet. See them now at survivalistcamps.com. That's survivalistcamps.com. Trust your family's survival to survivalistcamps.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free, bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. With you in the studio tonight, Ian here.
Vincent here.
And Mike.
And, of course, you can bring up whatever you want. By the way, the last call, David bringing up the judge in Albuquerque who has been arrested for DUI. I did do a quick search, and video is available of her arrest. I have not yet found the full video, but there's at least one news organization that has a highlights reel of it, including her taking the roadside sobriety tests. But they did not. Maybe she didn't actually say it. If she said it, they didn't include it in their highlights reel of her claiming, "Do you know who I am?" Because I was just waiting for that one. She had to have at some point. But she claimed that she was not drinking. She claimed on multiple occasions she was not drinking at all, even though she'd been involved in a car wreck. So she caused a car crash. That's what brought the police to the scene. And then the officer's like, "Well, ma'am, I can smell alcohol on you."
It's a balance problem from my medication.
Right. So we can continue here. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. And let's go to the phones and to the fun. We got Will listening online in Texas. Go ahead, Will.
Hey, I hope all is well.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, yeah. I noticed a state representative here in Texas proposed a bill for a minimum wage of $15 an hour.
Ugh.
Yeah, he's a Democrat and whatever, and I'm not Republican, but I darn sure aren't a Democrat. But, I'm so tired of this 15 or 5 for 15 or whatever, whatever the word is. I'll just start with point number one, is that, first of all, it's just assuming that whatever business you are, whoever's paying minimum wage, automatically, that's just assuming you can actually afford to pay your employees $15 an hour, and you're just being stingy.
That you're just pocketing all the extra money.
You're exploiting them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, another thing, too, when I moved to Dallas when I was 18 years old, all I had was a high school diploma, nothing else. I had no outrageous or amazing skills or anything like that. Back then, the minimum wage was $4.25, I think, an hour. It might have been $4.35. My first job, I was making $6.24.
Yeah.
I very quickly moved up to $7.24. And by the way, I was renting an apartment that was $350 a month, and paying my own insurance and supporting myself. It was very difficult, to say the least, by the way. I was working a lot. Okay?
Most heads of household, like the super majority of them, are not getting paid minimum wage. It is not hard to find jobs.
It's a training wage is what the minimum wage is.
It's not hard to find jobs that pay more than the minimum wage.
Here in New Hampshire, I'm live an hour north of Keene here in Lebanon. In West Lebanon, the McDonald's is offering $12 an hour plus $3,500 a year in educational benefits.
Damn.
Plus 401k.
So McDonald's will send you to school.
Give you, and I calculated what those additional benefits are worth, and adding those on top of the 12 is over $15 an hour.
Wow.
There's a coffee shop in Hanover that offered dental.
Well, and one thing about that, guys, is, I was, like I said, 18, and we weren't required to buy health insurance at the time, but I actually bought it because it was only literally $4 a week. And I just didn't want to break a finger or need stitches and be like, man, I should have spent that $12 a month for my insurance, But, and what I'll say, another thing, too, is one of the reasons why I never worked at McDonald's or wherever that was paying minimum wage is because I couldn't afford it, right? I mean, I had to make money. And again, we're talking about a guy fresh out of high school. I mean, but the best thing I had going for me, I was a hard worker. That was it.
Well, that counts for a lot. I mean, as long as you can show up on time, preferably with a smile on your face, you're going to be doing just fine for the most part, because most people have trouble showing up on time. So as long as you can show up on time and do mostly what you're told, you'll probably be a little fine.
In this economy, I mean, I talk to so many other business owners who are having trouble finding people to work, and those that apply to work aren't worth hiring because they're either they don't show up.
Drug
They're
addicts.
drug addicts, drunks, they whatever.
Well, and some welfare programs require you to be actively looking for work. So they would, put in they would try and get a job and then purposely fail and then try again a few months later just so they could continue getting their welfare payments.
Something people don't understand, a lot of these people who support the minimum wage, they don't understand economics. As you pointed out, Will, a lot of these businesses, they're paying the minimum wage because that's all they can afford to pay. They're not making that much money. Many of these companies are mom and pop businesses that are on the scraping the edge of possibly being shut down due to not being able to pay their bills. They don't have a whole lot of extra money to cough up into this. So what happens when they raise the minimum wage is they end up firing people or cutting their hours way back.
I mean, since Seattle raised their minimum wage, the restaurant business, there's been so many restaurants that have
gone under.
Yeah, gone under.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to make one more point. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
one other point I was to say is that about 15 years ago, my stepsister was getting a job at Walmart as a cashier in Dallas area. The minimum wage, or the offering wage was $13 an hour. Again, this was 15 years ago. Okay, now this wasn't full time, so there is that, right? But whenever I was starting, and that was kind of the point: is Walmart. Everybody says they're evil and awful and all that stuff, whatever. And again, they're not getting full time employment.
Yeah. I can tell you, the people who work for Walmart don't say that. The ones that I've known don't say that about Walmart. Sorry, go ahead with what you were going to say.
Well, yeah, that was the thing, is that it was just her dadgum cashier, right? And
right.
My sister, who she wasn't as ambitious as she should have been, but she had talked about. She was saying that you could get back then. You could get in the meat department, cutting the meat. What do you call it? The butcher?
Yep.
Not the butcher, but that. Anyway, it was.
Deli.
She was like, they make darn good money, Anyway, my whole point to all that crap is that employers are going to pay what it takes to get good employees for what they need.
That's right.
And that's really the point.
That's how the market works. If the market were allowed to work, instead of having these outside constrictions put on it. Thank you, Will, for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. There's only a few things that can happen as a business owner that you can do to respond to an increase in the minimum wage. Because while it's definitely true that a lot of businesses pay above the minimum wage, if all of a sudden the minimum wage jumps from $7 to $15, then that means all those people who had been making more than the minimum wage at, say, 10, 11, 12, 13, they got to move up to 15 at that point. So all of a sudden, everybody who's been working hard and has been in whatever the business was for however long they've gotten whatever raises they've gotten over time, now all of a sudden the new kid that walks through the door is getting paid the same amount as them. Talk about a slap in the face.
The business owner is automatically going to cut their employee roster in half.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get your hours cut or you're going to get fired. I mean, basically one of two things is going to happen. The business owner can also try increasing prices as well. It may be a mixture of some of the, these different things. Increase prices, also cut the quality down of, if you're making a product, you could maybe make it with cheaper quality parts, which is probably the last thing they're going to want to do. But it's bad when this stuff happens. And people end up losing. And there's been so many different studies that have proven this over time. I mean, this isn't just speculative ramblings of talk show hosts. Like, every time minimum wage goes up, people who were on the the lower end of the economic spectrum lose their jobs.
Legitimate Marxist economists who were doing those studies.
Yeah, well. Let's continue here. Let's go to Max. He's in New Hampshire. Max, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how are you doing? Congress has voted to raise the minimum wage 19 times since World War II, and all 19 times unemployment's gone up, youth unemployment's gone up dramatically, and minority unemployment's gone up dramatically.
Yeah, it always affects the people who are kind of on the the lower end of the economic and skill spectrum.
It's gotten to the point, and right now you can't get kids to go find jobs.
They don't want to work, you mean?
They don't want to work, and so many places want kids to have some kind of a work ethic that they just don't
have it. Stand by, Max. I know you're calling in for different reasons. I believe this is State Representative Max Abramson, who is one of the more liberty-friendly reps here in New Hampshire. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. Take control of the airwaves. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Or join us on our Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. This is Free Talk Live.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose.
And here's Mike's best offer ever. MyPillow is now offering 50% off their 4-pack special plus free shipping. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-951-5617 and use promo code FTL. That's 50% off plus free shipping. Don't delay. Order now.
It's been said, any society is only 3 missed meals away from chaos. Those times may be near. Think about it. Our country faces multiple terrorist threats and aggressions from Russia and North Korea. Social unrest and violent marches yet again may lead to looting of stores and city shutdowns. And our crumbling infrastructure leaves our power grid vulnerable to long-term outages from a single cyber attack. When the chaos from any one of these threats arises, the government knows it can't provide during a widespread national emergency. That's why you need your own plan for self-reliance. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. Get a 4-week survival food supply for only $99. That includes breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Order online at preparewithgcn.com. $99 for 4 weeks of survival food that tastes like homemade cooking and lasts up to 25 years. From My Patriot Supply. Get your kits today at preparewithgcn.com. Free shipping is included. Preparewithgcn.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll free and bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. We have enough time for you if you want to jump in now. 855-450-3733. Also, big thanks to Vince, who is a gold amplifier. Free Talk Live amplifier means he is giving, in this case, $10 a month. That's what makes him the gold level. But our standard level is $5, and you get all the same perks. So, there's no extra perks just because you're gold or whatever. It's same. It's just, whether or not you feel like giving more, you're welcome to do that, of course, over at amp.freetalklive.com. So thank you to Vince for the support, and thanks to all of our Free Talk Live amplifiers, whether they be current or past amplifiers. And thanks to you if you haven't yet signed up, but you've been thinking about it. You can go to amp.freetalklive.com and get started there with credit card, with PayPal, and also with Bitcoin BTC. That's amp.freetalklive.com. We go back to Max, and I believe this is State Representative Max Abramson, who once ran for the Libertarian Party's president or gubernatorial nomination and actually temporarily got the Libertarian Party ballot access. But it seems like it was probably a fluke, Max, because the next candidate didn't even come close. I think that you probably got a lot of votes out of the fact that people were really upset at the Republicans and Democrats in 2016. That's my guess. And I know that wasn't what you called in to analyze, was what happened with the Libertarian Party over the last 4 years in New Hampshire. But if you want to throw in your thoughts, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, well, we did actually have, there's a little more to the story. I had very high name recognition. I had about 28% name recognition according to one poll. I was actually polling about 6% among likely voters going in. So our numbers actually went down going into the general election. But there was a lot more going on. We did a lot of statewide campaigning and went on a lot of different radio shows. So we were expecting a media blackout, so we just kind of planned ahead for that. But what I called in about is approval voting. I have an approval voting bill that was originally put in by another Libertarian state representative named Caleb Dyer, who didn't win his reelection bid, but I was able to take up his bill and go ahead and reintroduce it anyway. We had our hearing last Tuesday, and they're going to be doing the executive session next Tuesday. So listeners who live in New Hampshire and support approval voting can contact the
Can you
House
explain what approval voting is? Because I imagine a lot of listeners out there are going, huh?
So approval voting, a lot of people understand like score voting and instant runoff voting, and there's a whole complicated number system, and you have to relearn the whole outfit. Approval voting gives you results, outcomes that are almost as good as score voting and instant runoff voting and Condorcet and the other,
all these other voting methods that you're talking about involve ranking candidates, right? Where people would have to go number one, number two, this is my first choice, this is my second choice. Or I guess they wouldn't have to. They could just vote for one as their first choice if they wanted. But it gives them the option of ranking their choices, and then the different systems determine how they rank them and all that. But approval voting is different from those, you're saying?
In my district, I have Seabrook and Hampton Falls. A lot of the older folks I talk to would sometimes ask, why do you get a selectman's race, one person or four people are running for one spot? A lot of people would say, well, how come I can only vote for one? I want to vote for two of these guys. And really, it's your ballot. It's not the state legislature's ballot. So why can't, I read this one line in statute that says that if you mark more than one choice, your vote will not be counted. So you're literally disenfranchised. You have to pick between, one of your two favorite candidates. Or if you go in and vote in the primary, the September primary, one of the most important votes you can make, you'll have 10 people running in let's say a Republican primary, running for Congress, and half of them are pro-liberty and half of them are not. You only want to support the pro-liberty guys. With approval voting, you could vote for all the pro-liberty candidates and vote for none of the anti-liberty candidates.
And so whoever it is, no matter how many people vote for however many of their candidates, only likely one of them is going to have the plurality of the vote. When you add up the total of all the votes, it allows you to essentially vote for whoever it is you'd be okay with winning. So if you're okay with the Republican and the Libertarian, you would vote for both of them in a general election. If you're okay with the Democrat and the Libertarian, or the Democrat and the Green, you would vote for both of them rather than just voting for one. You could still just vote for one, though, if you really felt strongly about that one person.
And a lot of older voters are just going to stick to voting the way they do, and that's another great benefit of approval voting. It doesn't cost more. You don't have to really change the software. And with approval voting, like we have plurality voting in New Hampshire. So now if you have one guy get 40%, another guy gets 35, another guy gets 30, the guy with 40% is the one who wins. But with approval voting, a lot of people would vote for two or three candidates. So you might get one guy who gets 55 and two others get 50. So therefore, the guy with 55%. In other words, 55% of the voters approve of this candidate.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter, you could have one person get 70 and another get 60 and another get 50.
Now,
it doesn't really matter.
Tough question is, do you think this actually has a chance? Because previous years when these approval voting and the other ones,
that one that happened in Maine in this past election here, there was a lot of controversy over the results, where the loser had won the majority, not the majority, but had the highest percent. But he didn't reach the 50% threshold, and so then they went to people's second choice, and the second.
But that's ranked voting, right?
Right, and so there was a lot of how is that avoided?
Ranked versus approval versus score. In New Hampshire, we have plurality, so you can have legislative races where one person gets 23%. And the next one gets 20, and the next one gets 18, and the next one gets 15. It doesn't matter. If it's for 2 seats, the top 2 vote getters win.
Right.
It wouldn't matter if you had people getting 10%. And that's not unusual to have state legislators serving with, 15 or 20% of people voting for them. And you still win your race because it only goes to the people who vote. State House is, even for people who think that they're not going to vote or why bother voting, State House is probably the most important vote, whether it's the September primary or the November general election. But once you understand how approval voting works, it's much more effective for educated voters, and the more involved you get, the better chance you have. The other thing
I tend to agree, but I was there actually at the State House last week, or I guess it was earlier this week, when the hearing happened, and there's video footage. I just haven't done anything with it yet. I'll probably be getting it up on the Free Keene YouTube channel this weekend, so you can see Max answering some of the questions from the state representatives in this case. And just like every other year I've seen these bills come forward, these state reps do not know what this is. They are so confused, and it's such a simple concept. It's not a confusing. You vote for the ones you approve of. It's not hard to, visualize what this is like. But I've seen this thing go down in flames every single time. Do you think there's even a chance that this could even get out of committee with a passing recommendation?
One of those, it's slightly more likely this time. There might be something that goes on in caucus. They might say, hey, with this is the only one that we could pass, that the Democrats could pass through the House and Senate, because approval voting very slightly favors Democrats, but the one they really want is IRB, because that heavily favors Democrats.
That's the one that's being talked about in the media. I received a phone call from a reporter at the Keene Sentinel. I think it was yesterday or the day before that. He, just because I'm a local activist, he wanted my comments about the other bill, the one for instant runoff voting. And that, I actually brought up your bill, Max, and I made a point of bringing up approval voting as what in my opinion is a more simple option, because honestly in some races it could be very difficult to rank candidates. I don't know if I like this guy better than I like this guy. In the ranked choice, you have to pick one or the other, as I understand it. There are different systems, but I really hope that anything goes through as far as changing the voting systems, because all of these options, maybe they help Democrats, I don't know about that, but they definitely help third parties, because they allow people to actually vote for a third party, probably many for the first time ever, because a lot of times they have this wasted vote syndrome where they're deathly afraid of voting for the Libertarian or voting for the Green Party person because they're worried about what will happen to the other,
If Joanna Jarvis were running again, obviously a lot more people would vote for her, and then one of the other two, she would have easily sailed through with way more than 4% of the vote.
Yeah.
People could have voted twice, not vote twice, but vote for 2 candidates. And then Gilletta would have gotten, who knows, maybe 10% of the vote.
Yeah, she wouldn't have won likely, but at the very least we could finally see what level of support a Libertarian candidate has, because people wouldn't be afraid. Now, it probably would take a few elections for people to learn how this thing works, because most people aren't paying attention to the news headlines. They're not going to find out that any new voting system exists until they walk into the ballot. They walk into the room and look at the ballot.
What's going to work right now, under the current system, under first past the post, under the difficult ballot access rules, the only strategy that we have for getting the Libertarian Party or any party elected is called tactical voting. And tactical voting is a way where, say, Britain, Canada, and other countries.
Max, I wish we had more time to
adapt.
talk about it. It's been an interesting call. Hopefully it gives people a little food to think on and go research things like approval voting and IRV voting. We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Find us online at libertybeat.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your weekend edition of the Liberty Beat for the week ending February 1st, 2019. Gold opened Friday at $1,321. Silver opened at $15.97. And Bitcoin is trading around $3,442. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, Twitter has announced that it took down about 2,000 accounts in Venezuela, most of which it claimed were engaged in a state-backed influence campaign. That comes amid accusations of a U.S.-led coup attempt. The San Francisco-based social media giant released a blog post Thursday saying it removed 1,196 accounts located in Venezuela, which it deemed to appear to be engaged in a state-backed influence campaign targeting domestic audiences. Twitter also removed another 764 accounts and noted, quote, "We are unable to definitively tie the accounts located in Venezuela to information operations of a foreign government against another country," end quote. The Twitter purge of accounts was met with criticism and accusations of censorship. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has announced that the U.S. will withdraw from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty immediately, prompting threats of a Russian response from Moscow. Pompeo said the U.S. could return to compliance with the treaty if Moscow meets Washington's demands within the next 180 days. To convince the United States to back down, Washington has insisted that Russia cease development of a new cruise missile. Moscow has repeatedly denied claims that it's in violation of the treaty. The withdrawal will formally take place on Saturday. President Donald Trump said the United States' NATO allies support the decision to withdraw from the treaty. The U.S. has also expressed concerns that its compliance with the treaty has benefited China, which isn't a party to the agreement. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals. High-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And Liberty Beat listeners right now can save 10% at checkout by using promo code SNLS. This is the weekend edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news. In a surprising vote Thursday, the United States Senate voted 68-23 to pass a resolution from Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, expressing opposition to President Trump's plan to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria, and expressing opposition to any theoretical pullout from Afghanistan that might result from a negotiated deal to end that war. The anti-media, citing antiwar.com, reports the non-binding resolution was passed with overwhelming support from the Republican majority, setting them squarely against parts of President Trump's foreign policy. A number of Democrats who voted against it expressed concern that it was tantamount to a vote advocating a state of permanent war. The 2001 authorization for the Afghan war was built around 9/11 and the defeat of al-Qaeda. Neither are hugely relevant issues in 2019 Afghanistan, and a peace treaty being negotiated centers heavily around the Taliban, promising to keep al-Qaeda and ISIS out of the country in the future. Congress never actually authorized the war in Syria at all, dodging that obligation repeatedly because of political concerns. President Obama invaded Syria unilaterally to fight ISIS, and President Trump has declared ISIS effectively defeated now that they virtually have no territory remaining. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. It's simple. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details on how to raise your business's profile in partnership with the Liberty Beat. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the weekend edition of the Liberty Beat for the week ending Friday, February 1st, 2019. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Odds are, if you've looked outside recently, you've noticed that all dogs everywhere are running. Scientists can't explain why all over the world dogs of every breed are running nonstop. I'm joined now by animal behavior expert Dr. Charles Davenport. Charles, what can you tell us?
All we know for sure is that the dogs are running fast.
But we don't know why the dogs are running?
There are a few reasons that dogs normally run: because they're excited or scared, or they see something they want far away, or because they're happy. However, usually they don't run at the same time or in the same direction.
Do we have any idea where the dogs are running?
West. All the dogs are running west.
Do we expect the dogs to ever stop running?
We don't know. Animal behavior can evolve over time. Maybe running forever is just what the dogs do now.
Dr. Davenport, is there any chance that the running dogs are somehow related to last night's blue meteor shower, or the fact that horses are screaming?
Inconclusive.
Well, please keep us posted. Up next, where are all the children?
This is the Onion News Network.
And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Today, let us make them remember. We are not afraid!
Yeah, and a feared in the light of, oh my God. You know, we're going to be talking today with, some people have some good times and see if we can get out from under the man. Bill Ottman in the third hour is the CEO of Minds.com, Facebook killer or wounder or something. We're going to find out. We talked to him last May, and I want to see how things are going now, the update of everybody knows. You know what I mean? So we're going to go ahead and talk with him. In the second hour, Matt White from Trive. Trive.news is a mechanism by which it's kind of like Scopes or Snopes or whatever it is, the CIA's arm of truth-telling. And you want to know that something's true. How do I know that? Fact check. Fake news. Well, what about wisdom of the crowd? Everybody just comes in, and kind of, but, how's that gamed? And we're going to find out. We're going to talk to Matt about that. That'll be interesting. First hour, Karen Katowski, PhD, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, former Pentagon officer, professor, recipient of the 2018 Sam Adams Award, and a good friend, Liberty. Karen, how are you? Oh, wait, you're cold, aren't you?
A little bit. Not too bad. For us, it's a little bit cold.
Well, define a little bit.
It's been in single digits for the last 2 days.
Yeah,
so
this is, it's all that global warming. Well, what we're here in Arizona, we're like, oh my God, it went down into the 50s, so it's, we're okay. The main thing of course, we'll be talking about. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, but Venezuela, Russia, wars and rumors of wars, Bolton writing down 5,000 to Colombia crap, Yeah, let's start with that. We happen to see on the legal pad of John Bolton 5,000 to Colombia. Ooh, what a coup that we saw that he wrote it down. Where did that even come from? What kind of BS is that?
Well, I don't know where it came from. It's clearly BS. I mean, this is very strange how our government communicates to us. I mean, they have a couple of ways of doing it. They can just raise up arms, and come and arrest you like they did Roger Stone. That was a communication tool. We're going to send 30 FBI agents and a SWAT